Gluten-free, catch term right now, right? Big term. You can walk through the grocery store, you can see all kind of gluten-free stuff out there, right? Well, to me, the paleo diet is just a little bit a notch above that. It really is encompassing of everything that gluten-free should be, and the individuals out there that really are giving you the right information on a gluten-free diet are really closely aligned into paleo. They have that paleo mindset. So let's look at this. I want to show you guys where some of this whole gluten conversation comes from, because this is the whole grain topic on this. Is that gluten is found in the endosperm of grains. If you look at a grain, this is a kernel of corn maize up here. If you think about that little kernel of corn and that kind of meaty section, that's actually the endosperm. That's actually where your gluten is going to be found at in these different grains. Same thing with if you took a kernel of wheat. You pulled a kernel of wheat off of a wheat shaft, and you look at that, and you could take your fingernail and pinch it and break it open. The kind of meaty portion inside of that, that's the endosperm, but that's where all the proteins are at. That's where the reactive portion is. And the reason that this whole issue with gluten, and there's so much confusion around it, the reason that this has just become an issue of recent is because old definitions are associated with people with celiac disease. How many of you in this room have celiac disease? Nobody, right? How many of you in this room, and you don't have to raise your hand on that, have some issue with gluten sensitivity? If you eat gluten, you know you're probably going to react to it. So if you're just working with these old definitions of wheat, oats, barley, and rye, they're not adequate anymore. And there's multiple reasons for that, which we won't get into today, but you have to expand out beyond those definitions. And here's really one of the additional reasons that I think is so important. This goes back to the blood sugar regulation aspect of this. And I think this can best be summarized, and this may be a little bit difficult to see, but this is a label from a box of pasta. And this is very typical in the macronutrient, the fats, carbs, and proteins of what you're going to see. Let's start with our carbohydrates. 41 grams of carbohydrates. So that's a pretty reasonable amount of carbohydrate here. But do you have anything to balance that with? Is there any protein, fiber, or significant amount of fat to balance that with? Fat. Fat is going to be extremely satiating. Look at that, 1 gram. 1 gram compared to 41 grams. Your fiber, okay, 5 grams, not bad. But then your protein, you've only got 7 grams. So if you take these, and let's just for simplicity of math, let's add these up, and that's going to give us 13 here. So 13 versus 41. There's quite a discrepancy between those two numbers, right? So the impact that something like pasta or grains, and it doesn't matter. I mean, you can look at some of the things like rice or quinoa, spelt, some of these other alternative grains that get listed sometimes. This is one of the reasons that they're still not a good idea. And this is one of the reasons that making a paleo selection is a better option. In application, let's think about breaded foods. I love breaded eggplant. I used to love breaded eggplant, right? But what we do with it now is we bread it in almond flour. I really don't even notice the difference in it anymore. It's pretty much, you learn to thin out your almond flour a little bit, and you pretty much still got your breaded eggplant, right? You put a little marinara sauce on it, what's the difference? But leads to blood sugar instability. Now, Paleolithic nutrition is the original gluten-free diet. So just kind of a mindset to have when you're hearing gluten-free or grain-free out there. And with whole grains, I thought this was so cool, so I had to throw this in here. You'll hear people talk about, and I got this the other day, and this is something that I commonly get when individuals are asking me, why do I hear all this information out there about whole grains, and I should be eating whole grains, and this and that. This is the reason. I thought these researchers just nailed it when they put this comment in. Awareness of Paleolithic nutrition patterns should generate novel testable hypotheses, so things that they're going to study and look at, and it should dispel complacency regarding currently accepted nutritional tenets. We live in a complacent society. This is kind of what's been there. I mean, if you look at the RDA food guide pyramid, any of y'all looked at that thing recently? That thing should be turned upside down, and then it would be adequate. It would be at least closer to being adequate, right? That is still the standard by which the RDs, the registered dietitians, are trained out there. And so many of us know, I mean, there's so much data, so much evidence to suggest that that's not how we as humans should be eating. We should be making a completely different type of dietary choice. But it's this complacency. So I just wanted to give you that piece of information, so if you wonder why is Dr. Hill up here saying one thing and all these other people are out there saying something else, this is one of the reasons why. I'm not complacent. I want new information. I want the best information to be able to hand feed to you guys so you can have the best health out there. We don't want to be complacent. So I ask you this question, is the paleo diet a better choice? Absolutely, it's a better choice.